My name is Serena. I am 38 years old, and last Christmas I learned that the people I sacrificed everything for had been lying about me for 15 years. For 15 years, I sent my parents $2,000 every month, $360,000 total. I never missed a single payment. Last Christmas Eve, I overheard my mother tell my aunt, "Serena? She's never sent us a dime. She owes us. We fed her for 18 years. Thank God we have Marcus." Marcus, my younger brother, the one they paid full college tuition for, while telling me, "We can only afford one, and he's the boy." The one who hasn't held a job in 3 years. The one getting credit for every dollar I sent. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't confront her. I pulled out my phone and made one call. By New Year's Eve, 30 of my relatives learned exactly who had really been supporting my parents all along. And my parents? They learned what happens when you erase the wrong daughter. Before I tell you what happened, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this story. Drop a comment below. Where are you watching from, and what time is it there? Now let me take you back to 15 years ago, the day I made my very first transfer. I was 23 when I got my first real paycheck, fresh out of college, $60,000 in student debt hanging over my head like a storm cloud. 3 part-time jobs during school just to keep the lights on, no help from my parents, not a single dime. I still remember the conversation from 5 years before that paycheck. I was 18, sitting at our kitchen table. Acceptance letter from State University in my hands, full of hope, full of dreams. "Dad, the tuition is $12,000 a year. I got a partial scholarship, but I still need..." He didn't even let me finish. "Serena, we can only afford one. Marcus needs it more. He's the boy. He'll have a family to support someday." Mom nodded beside him. "You'll find a way, honey. Girls always do." So I did. I found a way. Student loans, waitressing, tutoring, night shifts at a gas station. I clawed my way through 4 years of college while Marcus got a free ride. When I landed that first job, junior analyst at a financial firm in Chicago, I should have been celebrating. Instead, I opened my banking app and sent $500 to my parents. Mom called that night. "Only 500?" Her voice dripped with disappointment. "Marcus is struggling with his credit card bills. He could really use some help." I increased it to 1,000 the next month. Then 2,000 when I got promoted. I kept waiting for a thank you, a simple acknowledgement, something. It never came, but I kept sending. Month after month, year after year, because that's what good daughters do, right? That's what I told myself. $360,000, that's what 15 years of silence cost me. The favoritism didn't start when I was 18. It started before I could even spell the word. I was 10 years old when I needed $12 for a school project, books on the solar system, nothing fancy. "Just go to the library," Dad said without looking up from his newspaper. That same week, Marcus got a brand new Nintendo, $200, no questions asked. At 16, I won a partial academic scholarship. The ceremony was on a Saturday afternoon. I pressed my best dress the night before, practiced my acceptance speech in the mirror. My parents didn't come. "Marcus has a baseball game," Mom explained over the phone. "You understand, don't you, sweetie?" I understood perfectly. At 18, I overheard Dad talking to Uncle Bob at Thanksgiving. "Why invest in a girl's education?" Dad laughed, swirling his beer. "She'll just get married and pop out babies, someone else's problem." The table laughed with him. I sat in the corner, invisible. Now, at 38, I did the math one sleepless night. $2,000, 12 months, 15 years. I grabbed a calculator even though I didn't need one. The number burned in my mind like a brand. $360,000. That's more than most people's houses. More than what they'd denied me for college, multiplied by 30. More than Marcus had earned in his entire adult life combined. Did they know? Did they ever sit down and add it up? Did they ever once think about where that money came from? I stared at the ceiling until dawn, a new question forming in my mind. A darker question. What exactly were they telling people about me? I was about to find out. Thanksgiving. Last year. I arrived late because of a deadline at work. The house was warm and loud, turkey smell, laughter, the usual chaos of 30 relatives crammed into my parents' living room. I slipped in through the side door, hoping to avoid the fuss. That's when I heard it. Aunt Ruth's voice, clear as a bell. "Marcus, you're such a good son, sending money to your parents every month like that." I froze in the hallway. Marcus's response made my blood turn to ice. "Family comes first, Aunt Ruth." He smiled that lazy smile of his. "It's the least I can do." I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Surely I misheard. Then Mom chimed in, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Serena's always so busy with her big city job," she sighed dramatically. "Never has time for us, never helps out. Thank goodness we have Marcus." Sympathetic murmurs rippled through the room. "That's so sad," someone said. "Some children just forget where they came from," another added. I stood frozen, grocery bags cutting into my palms. 15 years of bank transfers screamed in my head. Daniel found me there 10 minutes later, still frozen, still silent. He took one look at my face and pulled me outside. "I heard," he whispered. "Serena, I've suspected this for a while." "What do you mean?" "The way your family looks at you. The comments. It never added up." He held my hands. "We need proof. Documentation. Everything." I wanted to storm back in, flip the table, scream the truth. But Daniel was right. Words could be denied. Emotions could be twisted. Numbers, though? Numbers don't lie. "Not now," Daniel said. "But soon." I didn't know soon would come on Christmas Eve. I couldn't sleep that night, or the next, or the one after that. Daniel found me at 3 a.m. sitting at the kitchen table with a legal pad. "What are you doing?" "Making a list." My pen scratched against paper. "Everything I'm losing by staying quiet." He sat down across from me, waited. $24,000 a year. I tapped the first line. "That's what I send them. We could have bought a bigger house, started a college fund for kids we don't even have yet." "What else?" "My reputation." The word tasted bitter. 30 relatives think I'm the ungrateful daughter who abandoned her parents. Meanwhile, Marcus, who hasn't held a job in 3 years, is the family hero. Daniel reached for my hand. "And here's the worst part." My voice cracked. "I'm losing myself. Every holiday I sit in that corner and I feel like I'm 18 again, invisible, worthless." "So what do you want to do?" I'd been asking myself that question for days. I could confront them, but it's my word against theirs. "Your accountant has records." I looked up. "What?" "Margaret, she's been doing your taxes for years. She has every transfer documented." Something shifted in my chest, a small flame of hope. If I do this, I lose them, my parents, for good. Daniel's eyes were steady, certain. "Serena, you lost them years ago. You just haven't accepted it yet." His words hit like a physical blow, because they were true. I had been mourning parents I never really had, chasing approval that would never come, paying for love that was never for sale. "I'll wait," I finally said. "One more chance, one more sign." Christmas was 2 weeks away. I didn't know the sign would come so clearly. Christmas Eve, my parents' house glowed with string lights and false warmth. Daniel squeezed my hand in the car. "You sure about this?" "No." I grabbed the bottle of wine I'd brought. "But I need to know if Thanksgiving was a fluke. Maybe I misheard." I hadn't misheard. Deep down, I knew. But hope is a stubborn thing. The door swung open before I could knock. "Oh." Mom's hug lasted exactly 1 second. "You made it." Not, "I'm so glad you're here." Not, "Merry Christmas, sweetheart." Just, "You made it," like I was an afterthought. The living room overflowed with relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, their kids. The tree sparkled. Mariah Carey played on the speaker. And there, in the center of it all, sat Marcus. Dad handed him a glass of whiskey. "Marcus, tell everyone about your new business venture." "Well," Marcus leaned back, basking in attention, "I'm looking into some investment opportunities. Real estate mostly. Just waiting for the right moment." Translation: he was unemployed and living off our parents, off my money. Aunt Ruth caught my eye and waved me over. Serena, how's work? Your mother says you're always so busy. It's fine, Aunt Ruth. I forced a smile. Busy, yes. That's a shame. She patted my arm. Family should come first, you know. I wanted to scream. Instead, I excused myself to get water. The kitchen was quiet, a brief escape. I poured myself a glass, hands trembling slightly. That's when I heard voices from the laundry room. Mom and Aunt Carol. I shouldn't have listened, but something, instinct, fate, 15 years of doubt, made me stay. What I heard next changed everything. I stood frozen by the refrigerator. The laundry room door was cracked open, just enough. Aunt Carol's voice. Diane, I don't understand. Serena's a financial analyst, right? She must make good money. Why doesn't she help you out? My heart stopped. Mom's laugh was sharp, dismissive. Her? Please, Carol. She's never sent us a dime. The glass in my hand trembled. Really? Aunt Carol sounded surprised. But she seems to be doing so well. All show. Mom's voice dripped with contempt. You know how she is, always had her nose in the air, too good for her own family. We raised her for 18 years, fed her, clothed her, and she owes us. But does she care? No. I pressed my back against the counter, tried to breathe. That's terrible. Thank God for Marcus, Mom sighed. He's the one who takes care of us, every month, without fail. He understands what family means. Marcus always was the sweet one. Exactly. Serena's just, well, you know, selfish. The word sliced through me. Selfish, $360,000. 180 months of automatic transfers, never missing a single one. Not when I was sick, not when I lost clients, not when Daniel and I were saving for our wedding. Selfish. I set my glass down slowly, carefully, so it wouldn't shatter. Because I wanted to shatter. I wanted to march in there and scream the truth until my throat bled. But something stopped me. Daniel's voice in my head. We need proof. I pulled out my phone. Found a contact I hadn't called in months. My finger hovered over the name. Margaret Chen, CPA. I pressed call. The cold December air hit my face as I stepped onto the back porch. The phone was already ringing. Serena? Margaret's voice was warm but confused. It's Christmas Eve. I know. I'm sorry. Is everything okay? I closed my eyes, drew a breath. I need documentation of every transfer I've made to my parents. The full 15 years. Silence on the line. That's a lot of records. I know. Can I ask why? I watched my breath fog in the winter air. Inside I could hear laughter, Christmas music, the sounds of a family that had been lying about me for years. They're telling people I've never helped them. My voice was steady, calmer than I felt. They're giving my brother credit for everything. I need proof, Margaret. Official records. Another pause. I can pull certified bank statements going back 15 years, have them ready by the end of the week. I need them before New Year's. That's... She stopped herself. Okay. I'll make it work. You want everything notarized? Everything. I want it so official that no one can question it. Serena? Her voice softened. That's a significant amount of money. Do you realize? $360,000. I cut her off. I know exactly what it is. And soon, everyone else will too. We hung up. I stood there a moment longer, watching my breath disappear into the darkness. The door opened behind me. Serena? Mom's voice sweet as sugar. What are you doing out here? Come inside, it's freezing. I turned to face her, the woman who had just called me selfish to my aunt. Just a work call, Mom. She shook her head. Always working. That's your problem. I smiled and followed her inside. Not for long. December 26th, the day after Christmas. Daniel had gone back to work. I sat alone in our apartment, staring at my phone. One call down, one more to make. I found Thomas Reed's number, my estate lawyer. We'd met 2 years ago when Daniel and I finally got around to making wills. Back then, I'd listed my parents as secondary beneficiaries, just in case. Reed Law Office, how can I help you? Thomas, it's Serena Everett. Serena, happy holidays, what can I do for you? I didn't waste time on pleasantries. I need to make changes to my estate documents, my will and my life insurance beneficiaries. A brief pause. What kind of changes? I want to remove my parents from everything. Papers shuffled on his end. I pictured him pulling up my file. Currently, your husband Daniel is primary beneficiary. Your parents, Harold and Diane Moreno, are secondary. You want to remove them entirely? Yes. Replace them with... I thought for a moment. A children's education charity for kids from low-income families. The irony wasn't lost on me. Money that could have gone to parents who denied me an education, now going to help kids like I once was. That's a significant change, Serena. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. I can have the documents ready by January 2nd. You'll need to come in and sign. Perfect. If you don't mind me asking, it's a family matter, Thomas. My voice was firm but polite. Let's leave it at that. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet of my apartment. 2 calls, 2 chains broken. Now all I needed was Margaret's documentation, and a moment to make everyone see the truth. New Year's Eve was 6 days away, December 30th, 2 days before the party. My email pinged at 7:47 p.m. from Margaret Chen, CPA. Subject, documentation package, confidential attachment, Moreno _ transfers _ 2011-2025 _ certified.pdf. My finger trembled over the trackpad. I clicked. The PDF loaded slowly. Page after page after page. 47 pages total. Every single transfer, listed chronologically. Date, amount, bank confirmation number, my account, their account. March 2011, $500. April 2011, $1,000. May 2011, $1,000. January 2024, $2,000. February 2024, $2,000. All the way through December 2025. At the bottom of the last page in bold, total transfers, $360,000. Certified by Margaret Chen, CP. A. Notarized, December 29, 2025. Daniel came home to find me at the printer. Is that 47 pages? I watched each sheet slide out, warm and real. 15 years. Every single dollar. He picked up the first page, read it, set it down. Serena. I know. That's... He ran his hand through his hair. That's a house. That's 2 kids through college. That's everything I could have had. I gathered the pages into a neat stack. Everything they said I never gave. I opened my leather briefcase, the one I used for important client meetings, and slid the documents inside. My phone buzzed. An email from Thomas Reed. Estate documents finalized. Ready for signature January 2nd. One more piece of the puzzle. Daniel watched me close the briefcase with a soft click. You're really doing this. They told everyone I never helped them, Daniel. They told everyone Marcus was their savior. I met his eyes. They're having a New Year's Eve party. 30 relatives. And I'm going to give them all something to talk about. I'll drive you. No, I shook my head. I need to do this alone. December 31st, 8 p.m. Daniel idled the car outside my parents' house. Every window blazed with light. Music thumped from inside. At least 30 cars lined the street. I can wait, Daniel offered, just in case. Give me 2 hours. I grabbed the leather briefcase from the back seat. If I'm not out by 10, come find me. Serena. He caught my hand. Whatever happens in there, I'm proud of you. I kissed his cheek. Then I stepped into the cold. The door was unlocked. I let myself in. The living room hit me like a wave. Noise, heat, bodies everywhere. Cousins I hadn't seen in years. Aunts and uncles drinking champagne. Kids running between legs. And my mother, holding court by the fireplace. She spotted me. Her smile flickered. There, then gone. Serena, you came. She didn't move to hug me. What's with the bag? Working tonight? Just some documents. I kept my voice light. Something I need to take care of. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Suspicious, but guests were watching, so she played nice. Well, put it somewhere, it's a party. I set the briefcase by my feet, didn't let it out of sight. Across the room, Dad was mid-story, a circle of relatives hanging on his words. And you know how hard it's been since I retired. Fixed income, medical bills, but Marcus has been incredible. He clapped my brother on the shoulder. Couldn't have done it without him. Marcus beamed. Actually beamed. I found an empty chair in the corner, sat down, watched. Aunt Ruth drifted over. Serena, honey, you look tired. Everything okay? Just waiting for the right moment, Aunt Ruth. She gave me a puzzled look but moved on. The clock on the wall read 8:15. Less than 4 hours until midnight. I could wait. 9:30 p.m. The party was in full swing. I hadn't moved from my corner. Watching. Listening. The briefcase sat at my feet like a patient predator. Aunt Carol clinked her glass with a fork. The room quieted. Harold, Diane, speech time. Dad stood, chest puffed with false modesty. Well, since you insist. He raised his champagne. It's been a tough year, folks. You all know our struggles. But we're blessed to have family who truly cares. He looked pointedly at Marcus. Our son has been our rock. Every single month helping us make ends meet. That's what real family looks like. Murmurs of approval, glasses raised. Then someone, Cousin Beth, I think, gestured toward me. What about Serena? She's doing so well. The room turned, 30 pairs of eyes, waiting. Mom jumped in before I could breathe. Serena? She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. Oh, honey, she's very busy. Important job in the city. Doesn't have much time for family anymore. That's a shame, Uncle Bob said. Mom wasn't done. Sometimes I wonder. She dabbed at her eyes. We raised her for 18 years. Fed her, clothed her, gave her everything. And now... She trailed off with a theatrical sniffle. She doesn't even call, Dad added. Let alone help. The sympathy in the room was palpable. Poor Harold, poor Diane, such devoted parents, such an ungrateful daughter. I looked at Marcus. He was studying his shoes. Not defending me. Not correcting the lie. Just silent. My hands gripped the briefcase handle. Aunt Ruth spoke up, looking directly at me. Serena, I don't understand. You're a financial analyst. You make good money. Why don't you help your parents? Every eye in the room fixed on me. This was it. I stood up slowly. Thank you for asking, Aunt Ruth. The room went silent. I lifted the briefcase onto the coffee table. The lock clicked open, impossibly loud in the quiet. What are you doing? Mom's voice was sharp. Warning. I didn't answer, just removed the stack of papers. 47 pages, certified, notarized. I think it's time everyone saw this. I set the documents on the table where everyone could see. The first page was clearly visible. Bank transfer record. Serena Everett to Harold and Diane Moreno. What the hell is this? Dad stepped forward. This is a complete record of every transfer I've made to you and Mom. My voice was steady, calm. Starting in March 2011 and ending last month. Aunt Ruth was closest. She picked up the first page. $2,000? Her eyes widened. You sent $2,000? Every month. I nodded. For 15 years. The pages began to circulate, cousin to cousin, aunt to uncle. I watched their faces change. Confusion, disbelief, math being done in heads. Wait. Uncle Bob flipped to the last page. The total here says $360,000. Gasps rippled through the room. That can't be right, Aunt Carol breathed. It's certified. I pointed to Margaret's signature. By my CPA, notarized, official bank records. The room erupted in whispers. Papers rustled as everyone tried to see. Mom's face had gone white. Dad's champagne glass trembled in his hand. Marcus hadn't moved, frozen like a deer in headlights. Serena, Dad's voice cracked. This is a private family matter. You made it public. I cut him off, quiet but firm. You just told everyone that Marcus supports you, that I never help, that I abandoned my family. I gestured to the papers. So let's let everyone see the truth. The clock read 9:47. The countdown to midnight had a whole new meaning now. I need to pause here for just a moment. If you've ever felt like your contributions were invisible, like your sacrifices went unnoticed while someone else took the credit, I want you to know you're not alone. Before I show you what happened next, if this story resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been the invisible one in your family? I'll wait. Now, back to that living room. The papers passed from hand to hand like sacred texts. Aunt Ruth stood in the center reading aloud now. March 2011, $500. April 2011, $1,000. She flipped pages. January 2015, $2,000. February 2015, $2,000. Every single month, I confirmed, without fail. Uncle Bob had his phone out, calculator app open. 2,000 times 12 is 24,000 a year. He punched numbers. Times 15 years, that's 360,000. Exactly. The room stared at the documents like they were witnessing a miracle. Or a murder. Cousin Beth looked up at my parents. Harold, Diane, is this real? Mom's mouth opened, closed. No sound came out. Dad tried to recover. Those could be doctored. Anyone can fake. They're certified. Aunt Ruth's voice cut like ice. I can see the CPA's seal, the notary stamp. These are legal documents, Harold. More whispers, more shuffling of papers. I don't understand. Aunt Carol pressed her hand to her chest. You told us Marcus was sending money. He is. Dad's voice was desperate now. Marcus helps in other ways. What other ways? Uncle Bob challenged. Because according to this, Serena's been paying your mortgage for 15 years. I watched my parents scramble, watched the walls they'd built from lies begin to crack. Marcus does contribute, Mom insisted weakly. He just doesn't keep records like she does. Then where are his bank statements? The question came from Cousin Beth. If he's been sending money, show us. Every head turned to Marcus. He stood frozen, face red, eyes darting. I don't. You don't what, Marcus? Aunt Ruth's tone had shifted, harder now, angrier. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Dad stepped forward, hands raised like he was calming a mob. Everyone, please. This is a private family matter. We shouldn't air our... You just gave a speech. Uncle Bob's voice boomed across the room. You stood up and told everyone Marcus was your savior. You called Serena ungrateful. In front of 30 people. That's not private, Harold. Mom tried a different approach. She dabbed at her eyes, voice trembling. Serena, honey, why would you do this? Embarrass us like this? After everything we've done for you? There it was. The victim card. I'd seen her play it 1,000 times. With neighbors, with doctors, with anyone who'd listen. Not tonight. Everything you've done for me? I kept my voice level. You refused to pay for my college. You told Dad to invest in Marcus because girls don't need education. I took out $60,000 in loans while Marcus got a free ride. That's not... Mom sputtered. And when I graduated, when I got a good job, when I started earning real money, I sent it to you, every month, for 15 years. I pointed at the documents now scattered across the coffee table. That's not embarrassment, Mom, that's the truth. But we raised you. Dad's composure cracked. 18 years. That doesn't count for anything? I spent $360,000 over 15 years. I met his eyes. I'd say we're even. The room went dead silent. Aunt Ruth stepped between us. Harold, Diane. Her voice was quiet but devastating. I think you owe everyone an explanation. Why did you tell us Marcus was supporting you when Serena was the one sending money? Mom's face crumpled. Dad's jaw clenched. Neither spoke. The silence said everything. The attention shifted to my brother like a spotlight finding its mark. Marcus stood by the fireplace, champagne glass still in hand. He hadn't moved since I opened the briefcase, hadn't spoken, hadn't defended our parents or corrected their lies. Uncle Bob walked up to him. Marcus, let's hear it from you. Have you been sending money to your parents? Marcus's voice cracked. I've helped out. Here and there. Here and there isn't $2,000 a month. Aunt Ruth crossed her arms. Do you have any bank statements? Any proof? I don't keep records like that. Convenient, someone muttered. I stepped forward. Not aggressive, just clear. Marcus, I'm not asking you to prove anything, but you sat there for years, letting them give you credit for my money. You heard Mom and Dad tell everyone I was ungrateful. You knew the truth. His eyes finally met mine. Serena, you didn't what? Didn't know? Didn't care? I shook my head. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every birthday, you let them paint me as the villain. The room watched. 30 witnesses to years of deception. Cousin Beth spoke up. Is it true, Marcus? Did you know Serena was the one actually helping them? His silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. I thought, his voice was barely a whisper. I thought maybe she was also sending money. Like, in addition to what, Uncle Bob pressed. What exactly have you contributed? Marcus looked at the floor. The answer was clear. Nothing. He had contributed nothing, and he had known all along. I see. Aunt Ruth's disappointment was palpable. Well, I think we've all learned something tonight. The clock read 10:15. The party was over. The reckoning had just begun. The room had shifted. The music was off. The champagne sat untouched. I reached into my briefcase one more time. I have a few announcements. Dad looked like he wanted to stop me, but 30 pairs of eyes held him in place. First, I faced my parents directly. Starting January, I will no longer be sending money, not because I can't afford it, but because I don't owe anyone anything. Mom let out a small cry. Second, I continued, steady as steel. Last week, I updated my life insurance beneficiaries. Mom and Dad, you're no longer listed. If something happens to me, the money goes to an education fund for children from low-income families. The irony landed. I saw Aunt Ruth nod slightly. Third, this was the hardest one. I've revised my will. The inheritance you were counting on, it's gone. Every penny will go to people who won't deny where it came from. Mom's legs seemed to give out. She sank onto the couch. How could you? Her voice was raw. After everything. After everything? I almost laughed. You told the entire family I was ungrateful. You gave Marcus credit for my money. You never once said thank you. We're your parents, Dad shouted. And I was your daughter. Past tense, deliberate. You raised me for 18 years. I supported you for 15. I funded vacations you told people Marcus paid for. I covered medical bills you said came from savings. I picked up my briefcase. We're even now. Actually, by my math, you still owe me about $100,000 in emotional damages, but I'll let that slide. No one stopped me as I walked toward the door. Serena, wait. Mom reached out. I didn't turn around. I was almost at the door when a hand caught my arm. Aunt Ruth. Her eyes glistened. Without a word, she pulled me into a hug. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Her voice broke. I didn't know. All these years I thought, it's okay, Aunt Ruth. It's not okay. She pulled back, hands on my shoulders. I believed them. I looked at you at holidays and thought, she couldn't finish. You believed what they told you. That's not your fault. Uncle Bob appeared beside her. Serena, I owe you an apology too. The way I talked about you behind your back. He shook his head. I'm ashamed. One by one, relatives approached. Cousin Beth, Cousin Mark, Aunt Carol, who was now staring at my parents with new eyes. I lent Marcus $20,000, Aunt Carol said quietly. Your parents said it was for an investment, a sure thing. My stomach dropped. There was no investment, was there? She shook her head slowly. The web of lies was bigger than I'd imagined. Dad pushed through the crowd. Everyone, this has all been blown out of proportion. Serena is clearly emotional. Harold. Uncle Bob's voice stopped him cold. I think you should stop talking. Mom sat on the couch, crying softly. Real tears now, I suspected. But not tears of remorse. Tears because she'd been caught. I turned to the room one final time. I don't need anyone to apologize. I don't need anyone to take sides. I just needed the truth to be heard. I lifted my briefcase. Now you've heard it. The front door felt lighter than I expected. The cold December air hit my face like a promise. Daniel's car was waiting at the curb, engine running. I climbed in without looking back. How'd it go? It's done. The moment I walked out that door, I felt something I hadn't felt in 15 years. Freedom. If you're still watching, I want to ask you something. If you were in my shoes, would you have done the same? Or would you have stayed silent? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want to see how this all played out, because the aftermath was something I never expected, keep watching. We're almost there. The first week of January brought a flood of messages, not from my parents, from everyone else. Aunt Ruth texted daily. Called your mother today, demanded an explanation, she just cried and blamed circumstances, couldn't give a straight answer. Uncle Bob sent a long email, apologizing for every sideways glance, every muttered comment about my absence at family events. I should have asked you directly instead of believing gossip. That's on me. Cousin Beth called while I was making dinner. Serena, I just want you to know, I told my mom about what happened. She's furious with your parents. The whole book club knows. Book club. God. My parents' humiliation was spreading like wildfire through my mother's social circle. I should have felt guilty. I didn't. On January 8th, Marcus finally reached out, a single text. Was that really necessary? Mom and Dad are devastated. I stared at it for a full minute before responding. You stayed silent and took credit for 15 years. Don't lecture me about what's necessary. No reply. The silence from my parents was louder than any screaming match could have been. 10 days, not a single call, not one text. Part of me had expected them to beg, to apologize, to try to salvage something, but I realized they weren't silent because they were remorseful. They were silent because they were regrouping, figuring out their next move, crafting a new narrative. Daniel found me staring out the window one evening. Any word from them? Nothing. He sat beside me. How do you feel? I considered the question carefully. Light, I finally said. Like I've been carrying a weight I didn't even know I was holding. He squeezed my hand. That's called freedom, Serena. Maybe it was. January 28th, almost a month since New Year's Eve. My phone rang, a number I almost didn't recognize. Dad. I let it ring 3 times. 4. Then answered. Serena. His voice was different, stripped of its usual bluster. We need to talk. I'm listening. The financial situation here is difficult. Your mother and we've been making adjustments, but you've lost $2,000 a month you were counting on. Silence. We need help, Serena, just for a few months, until we figure things out. I looked at the ceiling, drew a slow breath. No. Serena. I said no, Dad. I was clear on New Year's Eve. That chapter is closed. His desperation leaked through. Your mother is selling furniture, did you know that? She's selling the dining set your grandmother left us. The dining set I'd eaten at as a child. The one I was never good enough to deserve a place at. That's her choice. How can you be so cold? Cold? I laughed. Not cruel, just tired. I supported you for 15 years while you told everyone I was worthless. That's not cold, Dad. That's the natural consequence of your choices. You're our daughter. And you told everyone you wished Marcus had been born first instead of me. Remember? Thanksgiving 2019. I heard you. Dead silence. He didn't remember, or more likely, he didn't think I'd remember. Dad, I don't want anything from you. I don't need an apology. I don't need to hear you're sorry. I steadied my voice. I just need you to understand. I'm done. This isn't punishment. This is boundaries. The line went quiet for a long moment. Then a click. He'd hung up on me. For the first time in my life, I was okay with that. February 5th. A phone call that changed everything I thought I knew. Aunt Ruth's voice was different, agitated. Serena, I need to tell you something. I just found out and I'm furious. What happened? Your brother. She spat the words. Marcus, do you know how much debt he's in? I knew about some credit card issues. Some? She laughed bitterly. He owes $40,000 on credit cards alone, but that's not the worst part. My stomach tightened. What's the worst part? He borrowed $20,000 from Carol 2 years ago. Your parents convinced her it was for an investment opportunity. Some tech startup, they said. I sank into my chair. There was no startup, was there? Of course not. Marcus used the money to cover old debts. And now Carol wants it back, and he doesn't have it. Aunt Ruth's voice cracked. He's been living off your parents, which means he's been living off you for years, and they let it happen. The full picture emerged like a photograph developing in acid. My money hadn't just been keeping my parents afloat. It had been funding Marcus's entire charade. The business ventures, the investments, all fiction. They built a house of cards, I whispered, and used my checks as the foundation. Exactly. Aunt Ruth sighed. I'm so sorry, Serena. We all trusted them. We all believed. You believed what good people believe about family. I felt strangely calm. That parents don't lie about their children. That blood means something. Doesn't it? I thought about that question. It should, I finally said. But sometimes the family you build is stronger than the one you're born into. Aunt Ruth was quiet. Then, softly, I'd like to be part of that family, if you'll have me. My eyes stung. You already are. February 12th. An email from an address I didn't recognize. Subject: from someone who understands. I almost deleted it. Spam probably, but something made me click. Dear Serena, you don't know me, but I know your story. My name is Patricia. I'm your father's youngest sister. We haven't met because I cut contact with Harold 30 years ago. I heard about New Year's Eve from Ruth. She thought I should reach out. I want you to know you are not alone, and you are not the first. My heart stopped. Dad had a sister? He'd never mentioned her. Not once. I read on. When I was 25, I was exactly where you are. Harold and your grandparents. They saw me the same way they see you. The disposable daughter. The one who was supposed to give without receiving. I left Ohio and never looked back. Best decision I ever made. I know the guilt you might be feeling. The whispers that tell you family is everything, and blood is thicker than water. But here's what I've learned in 30 years. The full quote is, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The bonds we choose are stronger than the ones we're assigned. I live in California now. I have a good life. A family that loves me without conditions. If you ever want to talk or visit, I'm here. Your aunt, Patricia. I read the email 3 times. A whole person. Erased from family history. Just like they tried to erase me. My fingers trembled as I typed a reply. Patricia, yes, I want to meet you. I want to hear everything. Thank you for reaching out, Serena. The pattern, I realized, went back generations. But it ended with me. March 3rd, 3 months since New Year's Eve. An email from Mom appeared in my inbox. My first direct contact from either parent since Dad's phone call. Subject: please read this. Dearest Serena, I've started this email 100 times. I don't know the right words. I know you're angry. I know I hurt you. Your father and I, we made mistakes. We should have been more grateful. We should have told the family the truth. But sweetheart, you have to understand, everything we did for the family. Marcus struggled. He needed more support. We never meant to diminish what you've done. You're our daughter. Blood is blood. You can't just cut us off like we're strangers. Please, Serena, come home. Let's talk like a family. We can fix this. I miss you. Mom. I read it 3 times, then once more. She was sorry we got caught. Not sorry for lying. She wanted to fix things, not acknowledge what they'd done. She invoked blood, not love. I drafted my response carefully, every word deliberate. Mom, I read your email. I appreciate you reaching out, but I noticed something missing. An actual apology. Not, we should have been more grateful. Not, we made mistakes. Those aren't apologies. Those are minimizations. You told the family I was ungrateful for 15 years. You let Marcus take credit for my sacrifices. You built your retirement on my money while calling me selfish behind my back. Our relationship can only exist if it's built on truth and respect. Not guilt, not obligation, not blood is blood. If you want to try again, really try, you know how to reach me. But I won't wait anymore. I've been waiting 38 years. Serena. I pressed send. Then I closed my laptop and went for a walk. December 31st. 1 year since the night that changed everything. I'm writing this from the sunroom of our new house. 3 bedrooms, a backyard, space for the future we're building. The down payment? $24,000 I didn't send to my parents this year. The rest came from years of savings we'd thought would never be ours. Last month I flew to California. Patricia picked me up at the airport herself. We talked for 6 hours straight. About Harold, about the family pattern stretching back generations, about the courage it takes to break free. They told me I'd regret leaving, she said over wine that night, that I'd come crawling back, that I'd die alone. Did you? She smiled at her husband across the room, her grown kids laughing in the kitchen. Does it look like I did? No, it didn't. Aunt Ruth calls every Sunday now. She's become the family I never had in my mother. I talked to your parents last week, she told me during our last call. They sold the second car. Marcus moved back in to help with expenses. She paused. They're struggling, Serena. I listened to the weight in her words. I know. How do you feel about that? I thought before answering. I'm not happy they're struggling. I don't wish them harm. I watched Daniel making coffee in our new kitchen, but I also spent 15 years setting myself on fire to keep them warm. I can't do that anymore. I understand. Do you? More than you know, sweetheart. My parents never responded to my last email. No apology, no acknowledgement, no attempt to meet me where I asked to be met. Some doors close because the people on the other side won't walk through. I've made peace with that. Tonight, I'm sitting on the porch of my new home. The sun is setting over trees we planted ourselves. Daniel will be home from work soon. I've been thinking about what I'd tell someone in my position. Someone who's been giving and giving, wondering why it never seems enough. Here's what I've learned. Being a good daughter, a good child, doesn't mean letting people exploit you. It doesn't mean funding lies. It doesn't mean accepting erasure just to keep the peace. Love is not a debt you repay with interest. If someone can only love you when you're useful to them, that's not love. That's accounting. And sometimes setting boundaries is the most loving thing you can do. For yourself, for your future, for the family you'll build instead of the one you were assigned. I don't hate my parents. Hatred takes energy I'd rather spend elsewhere. I feel something closer to grief. Mourning parents I wished I'd had. The versions of them I kept hoping would emerge. They never did. But here's what I gained. Freedom, self-respect, a marriage built on honesty. Relatives who became real family once they learned the truth. And Patricia, an aunt I never knew existed, who proved that breaking free doesn't mean breaking down. The door opens behind me. Hey! Daniel sets a cup of tea beside me. What are you thinking about? Everything. Nothing.